two things right out of the gate. Number one, we never introduce ourselves. Like I was watching other podcasts, they're like, "Hey, I'm so and so, and this is so and so."
Yeah, that's fun.
So,
You're right.
so I'm Rick Zykowski, and you are. You're in a bad mood today. That
I
makes
know.
I gotta be honest, makes me happy.
You feel like we're on the same. We're clicking on the same.
No, you can now see my side of things because before I think you said on the podcast, like, why don't you not laugh on the podcast? It's like because I'm trying to hold it together, like just not just screaming.
This is gonna be a real interesting. It's gonna be a real interesting day.
It is good because you'll notice that I'm going to be wearing the same outfit in the next episode.
Yeah, same.
Which we're recording 2 in 1 day. So why not do it at the earliest possible moment with the least amount of sleep while we're both cranky?
Yeah, I mean,
Good
other than
plan.
that, what could go wrong?
Nothing.
Yeah, this will be interesting for us. Is this the first time we've ever done 2 episode records in 1 day? I feel like maybe we did it one other time.
I think we may have done one of. How do we not remember things like that?
Because...
There's projects that I've worked on that I don't remember. Isn't that weird?
It's, I mean, a little, but not really. I don't know. I think as we're aging, I mean, A, the recall is becoming more difficult, but B, there's just only so much space, and the more stuff comes in, you just like some of it's got to go away. It's actually an interesting segue into today's episode, which is games that defined us, right? So defining stuff, and today's category is games, which we've done one episode, which was
TV
what was
shows.
it?
TV shows. Jesus
there it
Christ.
is. There it is.
Here's the thing. I pitched you on this a while back. So I'm going to give a bit of a shout out to our development guy, Greg, at the company, Greg Greenwald. He
Thanks,
did the show on CNN that was like the history of the sitcom. And I was texting with him while I was watching it and brought a bunch of nostalgia back to all these shows. So when I pitched you, I was like, we should do TV shows that were defining for us because that was defining for the world. And then I was like, we should do games, magazines, comics. Yeah. And then now that we're here on the games day, what a stupid idea. It's like, because it's you and I, no one knows. We're gonna talk about games that I suspect, if I know your list, and I suspect that I do know a couple of them, no one's gonna we're gonna have to explain what the game is. Then they're gonna have no frame of reference of like who we are and how it impacted us or whatever.
Well,
and then
if we were halfway decent podcasters, we would explain all those things and it would be interesting.
Do you think other podcasters wake up and be like, I just don't want to do this today? Like, I'm so cranky. And it's funny because I was talking to someone who asked why we started this. I was like, I think the real question is, why do we not end it? But I was like, I asked him, I was telling him, I'm like, well, it's because Eric and I got so busy that we were literally like, hey, I'll call you in like 10, and we didn't. And it just like, if we knew we had 1 hour a week to just sit and talk on the phone, and then I got the stupid idea of like, hey, let's record it. Actually, you probably had that idea. We should record it. And then I was like, make it a podcast. You're like, yeah, let's do that. Anyways, we've talked about that a million times. Let's get into. Why are you in a bad mood?
All right. Oh, we're gonna dive into that.
No,
we need to go straight into.
No, we can't.
We need to go straight into games. So
because we are somewhat pressed on time. I can tell you. My list, we're going to be done in about 4 minutes.
Oh, what? That's so...
and I have a lot of stuff.
Not...
It's just, what are the stories? Like, give me an example. Let's just start. All right, so let's take a step back. Let's take a breather. All right. So the methodology behind this is games that impacted you so much so that you remember them now. Because there's no way that these games defined us in any ways. There's moments that were like cool and stuff.
Yeah, I guess. I mean, sure. I guess. So I was trying to make a little bit of that connection as well, and I think to me, because it's all nostalgic, meaning I'm not naming a game that I play today, right? So it's all stuff from the past. So I think there's an element to it that defines an era of our life in certain ways. Sure. Like it was big for that time frame. So be able to go back and revisit that, I think is fun. So also we want to throw in, you brought up this new concept of for these that you want to do the Mount
Right,
Rushmore.
the Mount Rushmore. So it's
Right.
not all right. So there's two categories here. One are the games that defined us, and then the second is what are like, because we should have done that with the TV shows, because there's TV shows that like Seinfeld. That's not on my list, and it didn't define me, but it is probably the best sitcom of all time.
Right, it would be on your Rushmore.
It,
So that's
now,
interesting because
and it's not necessarily like that. That you're going to see on these games. It's not that I think that this is the best game or had the most impact on me or whatever. It's that I think no one can argue that that should be up there.
Is
whether or
Leisure
not
Suit Larry on your list?
Oh my god, dude! I completely forgot about that game.
See, this is why this is what
just said that.
So this is
Leisure Suit Larry was like an adult. It was a cartoony game, right? And it was like a player, like a. What was the basis of the game? I remember it was adult themed.
Yeah. Well, yes.
But was there nudity in it?
I don't.
Or suggested nudity.
I don't know the answer to that. I really, honestly, I don't remember. And
we were young, so that was like so.
It was super risque. Like the themes, it was all very like Playboy, dude trying to get some, and but it was done in the oh my god, I didn't come prepared for this episode. It's done in that like action adventure sort of like you have a character, you tell them what to do, type stuff.
I guarantee we can find a clip.
So this is where I was going with it initially when I started talking about it.
That's not going to go on the Mount Rushmore.
No, I understand that. I was making a joke, but I to prepare for this, I started going back like, okay, so what are some of the things that I used to really love playing? Like I spent like a ton of time, that I'm not distinguishing between my Mount Rushmore and like my top 4. Like to me, they're one and the same. Meaning I didn't plan to go, oh, these are the ones the world would think are the top 4. Like
here's an example. Pac-Man. I like it's a fine game or whatever, but it's probably, if you put that on the Mount Rushmore, no one's going to complain about that.
I don't know that I agree with that.
Why? It was such an impactful game. It was,
yeah, but I guess I don't know, but not more than like I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong. I don't feel like it changed the world like Super Mario.
Pac-Man was the first arcade game. Maybe you could say Donkey Kong, but like Pac-Man was the one that you would go to bars and play, and the parents would go drink and be like, "Here's some quarters for the kids." I know you didn't grow up like that, but mom. This is for not commenting. All your shit's coming out.
we're figuring out your connection to Pac-Man. That's cool.
Yeah. Go to the babysitter. My mom would say. I'm kidding. She didn't say that. Oh my gosh, she's gonna call me. Just comment it, mom. Just say that you weren't a bad mom.
Yeah, and then when she hangs up, let's say David calls you and straightens you out.
Yeah. So David, don't listen to this part. We used to take a knife, and if you jammed it into the quarters, it would act as a quarter. So we would. My mom's hearing this for the first time too. So we would just sit there all day long and like.
Look at that. Okay, here's a couple things that are interesting.
Get to it.
Well, hold on. So a couple things that are interesting. One, you said games, and in my head,
and I didn't specify.
Correct. So instantly, I went into. I started going down the path of electronic games, right?
I did
too. But then I went, oh, he didn't specify. And gosh, if I was going to like Monopoly, like I loved Monopoly. Like there's a whole series of games. And then my brain was like, well, I mean, then what about like basketball, like playing basketball? That's a game.
Right.
Like
it's
that's
a sport, though. It's the only thing I could justify that. Yes, it's considered a game, but it's a sport.
Sure, but gaming's a sport now. They have entire tournaments associated with gaming.
Sure, no one really believes it's a sport, but
dude, it's esports they're a real thing. There's
because they put the word sport on it, like they say golf is a sport.
No, because it's a competition. Because you're trying to win.
It's a competition.
But they're games. You're right. Literal games.
I thought about that. We probably should have specified it. However, who cares?
Well, I'm just saying.
That's where I came to. All right. So we should. I know you got a full list, but because we only have.
Not only do I have a list.
I know you got clips, and I guarantee you brought old t-shirts.
I didn't bring any, or I didn't prep any clips or pictures, but I've brought show and tell items.
I mean, part of me hates that you do that because it's like I want to do that, but I just have no time. Like it's like, by the way, we've already, by the time this airs, we've already had that 2-week gap where there wasn't. I mean, hopefully this will be whatever. We had a 2-week gap where because I was too busy to edit. Like it takes me a second to edit these, and it's not like, in all honesty, this should take no more than an hour to edit.
Yeah,
and it takes me so long because I'm trying to get my words right and move things around and
make yourself sound good. I get it.
Yeah. Let's do the top 4, then honorable mentions, then the Mount Rushmore.
Okay, my Mount Rushmore.
I know your list is 7,000.
No. Well, it is a lot, but so just to close the loop on what I started talking about, which was, I had to go back, that part of the nostalgia thing. I went back and started watching like videos on YouTube of like vintage 80s and 90s PC games, because I was like, what that whole recall thing, right? That you touched on. I was like, what am I not remembering? I remembered like certain things. I was like, man, I know there was like, there were a couple of things I spent a ton of time on, and I spent all that time, and which was super fun to go down that path and go down that road, but then none of them made my top list. Like I was like, these are amazing. I remember these. It was super fun. So I don't know. So anyway, we'll get into some of those things when we get there, but they're not on my top. So all right, go ahead, get started. What's your number? Right. Are these in order?
I'm gonna go from 4 to 1. 1 being the
okay. I didn't put mine in. Okay, so all right, I'll change my order. What? Okay, what do you got?
I think that this may be on your list.
Okay, probably.
Baseball stars.
Boom! Of course it is. Honestly, the question is that going to be so
that's got to be worth something
for the listener.
Someone
show it. Yeah, it's for me when I play it this weekend.
Is that for the Switch too?
So for the listener only, I brought the original NES cartridge of Baseball Stars.
By the way, David's a listener only. He doesn't watch.
I know a couple of people listener onlys.
I don't know if that makes it better or worse. By the way, David.
He might call you more if you watch the videos.
That's true.
So probably number 1 on my list.
Really?
I have an emotional connection to this game.
Sure.
That, and if I'm objectively thinking about it, I'm guessing I've spent more time playing this game than any other game. And maybe I'm wrong, but
that's true.
So here's why, and this is what you used to get really angry about.
Right.
You used to get angry about this.
Yeah, you come to my house, right?
Well, it was. I also borrowed somebody's. I remember being downstairs.
Yeah.
I borrowed somebody's NES.
So set up the game, because then it'll get to why you spent so much time on this.
So Baseball Stars it is obviously a baseball game, but it's set up in such a way that you manage the team and you manage your players, and you can build up their stats.
But even before that, this was the first time you can create the team.
Yeah, you pick the team.
You can put their name,
their name, draft players. Yeah, absolutely.
Ted had Bernard Sumner, from New Order as his lead hitter.
Yes.
So you could build up your players that you created.
Yes. And so you name your whole team, what position, you put them in their positions. And then it became, every time you won a game, depending on the audience, you would get a certain amount of money. And so that you had this one stat that was called prestige. And if you continue to build up your prestige, then you'd get more people there. And then when you won a game, you'd get more money. And then you could just continue to build up your players. And so you could go through and draft players depending on the money that you had, and you could get ones that could be maxed out. Like you could take every one of their stats and go all the way, full.
But here's what I don't get though.
Yeah.
where was that saved? Was that saved on the NES or the cartridge? It couldn't have been the cartridge. They didn't have a read write on there.
It is in the cartridge, as far as I understand it. I've seen a couple of videos about the fact that they had some memory, like certain games had some memory in them. So it's not in the
Gotcha.
NES. It's in the
So
cartridge.
so you would take the game. You'd borrow,
Yeah.
if it wasn't my NES, it was someone else's. You would
Yeah.
take the game.
Yeah.
Therefore, we couldn't build up our players, and you would just sit there. And I remember you would do it before school. You'd be like, they're
Yeah,
just
playing.
building
Well,
up
so
your
do you remember?
players.
I'm gonna use the term. Do you remember the team, the computer team that was the best to play? The lovely ladies. Nice.
Yeah.
Yes, they had the most prestige,
Which
so you get the most
ironically
money.
is the background, the female background singers for the Dave Matthews Band.
Oh,
The
well,
lovely
there you
ladies.
go. There, well, look at that.
I bet Dave was a big Baseball Stars fan.
But so going back to the time spent, I spent so much time just playing like the lovely ladies to beat them and build up my team, so that like every player on my team was like full stats. And
so stupid. You were so irritating. Do you remember that guy Mike? He always played with his shirt off. I don't want to use his last name, but he would always play with his shirt off. He's kind of muscular, even for when we were young. And he would get so angry, and he would bite the remote and leave teeth marks in the remote.
Oh, but this was like your brother's friend?
Yes, he was my brother's friend, and the funny thing about it is because your team was like, everyone was built to the max, and he had, let's just say, a little bit of skill, but couldn't do anything against your team. So he would like bite the remote and get so mad.
I don't remember who that is. I
Yeah.
remember someone that used to bite the remote and leave teeth marks. I don't remember who that was. I definitely don't remember them playing shirtless.
We're like 13-year-olds, like, dude, put on a shirt.
But yeah, so like played. So I'd leave I'd leave home early to come down and play, and we'd try and hurry up and fit in the game before the bus got there. So we'd be literally like watching for the bus and try and hurry and finish the game, and then go run out the door and go get on the bus, because the bus stop was just down from your driveway.
Yeah.
It's my number one. I think I just get immense joy out of that game. And of course I've got the NES. I've got the original NES at the house and have it hooked up, and every once in a while pull it out and play. It's fun.
All right, well, that was my number 4.
Yeah. All right.
You go with your number 4.
My
already have your 1.
My number 4 is Mortal Kombat. I loved playing Mortal Kombat so much. And, as I was analyzing a lot of this stuff, there's a huge irony also. I don't know if irony. I think it's interesting that all of these games I didn't own, and I didn't have a console. We didn't have a gaming console in our house. So my dad wouldn't allow it. He's like, get outside, go play, go play some sports, go do something outside. So I was so obsessed with playing Mortal Kombat over at Jeff's. Like, I remember, Jeff had all the consoles and a lot of the games and stuff like that. And just like Scorpion, come here, like finish him, all that. It eventually became problematic we need to pause. Or we're gonna need to cut this out. I gotta check the phone and make sure.
Okay.
That's Carrie. Hello. Hey.
Ladies and gentlemen, while Eric is on the phone, I'm going to talk about how my kids, I have a Mortal Kombat arcade, and the kids can't beat me at that. Now, my kids are gamers, and they can beat me at any single game. However, arcade Mortal Kombat, no, no, no. Times like this, I wish I could scat. I can't wait till we get to movies.
Carrie said, please tell Rick to edit this out.
No. I was giving gold.
Okay, sorry about that. Where was I?
We were talking about Mortal Kombat.
Oh yeah, so it became this thing where it was like too violent. This is like the start of games that were like too violent, and they were worried that kids. It was all over the news, and it was a
Ripping
huge.
the heads off, and
Yeah, exactly. Like
after
ripping
already
hearts
dead,
out
you
and
have to
rips.
like
Yeah,
kill them even more, take their
absolutely.
soul.
It became like this interesting thing where parents were complaining about games being too violent, and it was all over the news, and it just made kids want to play them even more. Right?
It is weird how that works. Like, if hey, don't listen, it's got bad words in it, so you just want to hear it more. It's so weird, and it's so like predictable.
I feel like that's human nature.
I'm
Though.
sure it is. Yeah,
You
like
know,
if you can't do something, you got to
yeah.
go find out how to do it.
What?
Uh,
Why not?
I was saying that I have the arcade up in upstairs, the arcade version of Mortal Kombat. It's
Yeah.
got all the Mortal Kombat versions on it.
Yeah.
And my kids who are gamers cannot beat me at Mortal Kombat.
Ooh, look at you. So that must feel good because that probably doesn't
No,
happen on
no,
much.
I don't take any pride in any of that. Like,
Why not?
because the fact that I'm good at an arcade game, like,
Well, I don't know. You always talk about your competitiveness and how
not with my kids. I'm not. Well, I don't know if that's true.
But it's
I,
not
I
true because you just talked about basketball the other.
yeah, I am competitive, but that's to try and get them to get better.
You could do that with games too.
Well, yeah, please get better at Mortal Kombat. Plus, what does it say to me as a parent? I'm like, this violent game, let's put it upstairs in the arcade.
We got all the versions. Yeah. We're playing.
Dude, this one, he rips the head off. His spine comes out and it starts wiggling.
I don't know. It's just when I started looking back and thinking about games, I don't actually have a version of it that in my house or that's playable, but it's another one that I was obsessed with. I loved playing it so much.
It's a good one. All right, my number 3.
Yeah,
it's a series. So Mortal Kombat was a series, right? Like, were you just talking the first one, or were you talking the whole Mortal Kombat?
No, that's an interesting question. I only played like the first couple or few. Like I never got into the when graphics got really good and what I didn't play it then. So it was the first 1 or 2 probably.
Yeah,
I'm referencing.
Yeah. What was the other fight one?
Oh well, there was like
it was like the most famous one is the side one, and like there's that big burly dude or big muscular dude.
Oh, that's not the one I was thinking of. That's Street Fighter.
Street Fighter.
So there was Street Fighter, but there was also I used to.
Did that come out before Mortal Kombat?
Don't know.
Because it seems like that would have been first because it was somewhat tame, and then Mortal Kombat's like, hold my beer.
That's right. That's probably right. There was like a, oh gosh, what was it? Like a Beast game, like Unleashed or
I don't. That's a knockoff of something.
No, it was whatever. I remember playing it in a wrestling camp on the arcade. I loved playing it.
All right, so my number 3 part of the series is Uncharted.
Yeah, that's my number 3 as well.
Yeah, it is. For if you've never played Uncharted, and it's even like, so on the PS5 you can go back. I think we had the PS Plus or whatever where you can go back and play the other games. Even going back to the first one, it's still fun to play. Now the graphics get increasingly better, but it's still just the storytelling of it is so fun. And obviously they made the movie, and the movie's fine. It wasn't like a bad knockoff. It was good.
It's garbage.
I mean, the problem is you play like Uncharted 4, which I think is the best one. You play a 10-hour story, right? So it takes long to unfold as you're getting it, and you're like, oh, this is part of the story. And so when it goes to the cutscenes, so a 2-hour movie is just going to seem like you're just brushing by everything. There's no way that it can, but it fits all the right things. Other than, and I like the actor, Tom Holland. I like him a lot. I don't think he was the right Nathan Drake.
Yeah, I don't know if he was or not. I don't know. There were just parts.
And I don't think Mark Wahlberg was the right Scully, or Sully, or whatever his name is.
Yeah, Sully.
but it was fine. It's
It was fine.
serviceable.
It was fine. I'll go with it was
Serviceable.
fine. There were a couple of moments I didn't feel like it did justice. So it is on my list because that is the last movie in the or movie game. That's the last game in adulthood that I ever stayed up all night playing, and that was you and I when Uncharted 1 came out, and we
Yeah.
we played all like through the night into the next day. We're like, oh, we got to go to work.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I was, which was of course like a brutal day, and the next day of no sleep. But it was so exciting to play.
But then
It
you
was
go
so
home
much
after
fun.
you're like, I'm never staying up this late again. You go home that night and you're like, I'm wide awake to play.
So one of my favorite memories about that was that there were points in the game that were like scary, kind of, I mean, it was like the middle of the night for us, and then you'd have all these like, I don't even know what you call them, like ghosts or zombies or whatever they were that were like coming out and like trying to attack you, and you had to like shoot them as you're driving, and I remember you screaming like a little girl every time they jump out. You get scared in games. You like,
I think that
you
was
react.
number 2.
Was it?
Yeah, because they moved away from the zombie element of it. Like it was always this kind of in the background element. Like it was never that you were fighting zombies until you got to like kind of near the end.
Yeah.
And it was like the treasures, protectors or whatever.
Yeah.
So but in the fourth one, I think there may be one scene that has paranormal-ish stuff. I don't know.
Good old Nathan Drake. I mean, the best thing about that is it's very Indiana Jones-esque, right? The games themselves have that vibe, which are such great and
just
iconic
way
movies.
Better than Indiana Jones. Indiana Jones does not hold up.
The movie?
Yeah.
You talking about the movies?
Yeah.
Are you going to say that Uncharted the movie is better than The Last Crusade? Is that what you're trying to say right now?
No. The Last Crusade, I'd have to go back and watch again. I just remember watching the first one. Is that the Temple of Doom or Indiana Jones? Whatever. The first Indiana Jones, I went back and watched not too long ago.
Sure.
And it's so bad.
Well, yeah, it's like many things in terms of everything's just changed. Like everything's just done so much different now, and so
better.
It's iconic.
By the way, this is so not the right time to bring this up. No, okay. I'm gonna hold it. And when we get to the movies.
Oh, okay. The movie, got it.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, no sleep.
All right. Uncharted. So that's the same as you. We have the same number 3.
Yeah. So I'll give you my number 2 then.
Yeah, this is where I think our 1 and 2, my 1 and 2, I do not think you're gonna have on your list. Though you should. My number 2, you for sure. You're gonna go, oh.
That should be on my list.
Unless this is your number 2.
Maybe to bump something off. So because we already covered my number 1, which was baseball stars. Right. So we're finishing my list right now. And
okay. So, yeah.
And this was a difficult toss up for me between number 1 and number 2 because I'm so obsessed with it, and it just stands the test of time, which is Tetris.
Did you watch a Tetris movie?
I did. I enjoyed it.
That was great.
I enjoyed it. Yeah, it was fun.
Really, really good.
It was intense.
Yeah.
Yeah. My brain works for Tetris.
Yeah, it does.
And so this is the thing I mentioned, like I was in a bad mood and why I was up till 2 a.m, is I was looking for my Game Boy. I have a black.
You still have your Game Boy?
I have a black Game Boy.
Was that the color one?
No, it's okay. The monochrome screen. So it was the original Game Boy, and
so you couldn't play it at night.
Only had monochrome screen, unless you had the thing with the light.
Yeah, they sold the light. So, hey,
yes,
at night.
Correct.
Why don't you just put a backlight on it?
Well, you can now buy screens that have backlights to update them and upgrade them, but
worth it.
So specifically, I of course have it for the NES, and I didn't bring it because it's actually in the NES, and then you have to do a whole thing where you hold it down with another cartridge. I'm like, I'm not messing with this. I'm not taking this out. But I loved playing it on the Game Boy, and I have vivid memories of playing against you
Hmm.
and we borrowed the Game Boy from Nick across the street. And when you
I
had
just
two,
saw him in Michigan.
oh yeah,
Yeah.
when you have two Game Boys, you could connect them with a cable, and then you could play two player. And I don't know if you remember this, but you can, like, when you're playing against each other, you can see the height of the other person's,
Yeah.
you can only like where
Right.
they're at height wise. And I used to always just build it up and be ready for the straight piece to get the Tetris. And you'd always be like, I know, man, you're getting pretty high there. And then I'd be like, pachoo, pachoo, like two
Uh,
Tetrises in a row. And then you're done. And you used to get so angry.
do you remember you and I, we went to Key West, and instead of like doing fun things at Key West, we sat on a park bench and played a game. What game was that?
Oh, what?
Do you remember? It was on a computer. It was like, what it may have been. I don't. Do you know what I'm talking about?
No.
Like, we literally sat there for hours on this park bench instead of like walking around Key West or anything.
Played it on our phones?
Yeah. I want to say it was like that 2028 game or something like that, or maybe it's
Oh, I know what you're talking about. Oh gosh. the yes, 2448. Is that
something
what it
like that. Yeah, something like that. But we sat there and played it for hours.
That sounds right. So
Like,
this is why this is why
Like, what is
we
wrong with us?
this is why I don't have a new gaming console, because I know I don't have time to in my life to actually get obsessed with games. I think like first person shooter games are incredibly addicting and fun, and
They're not now. Like, so I bought this game because it was the game of the year, and everyone talked. It was raving about the graphics and the gameplay and the storytelling. It was called Deathloop. I think it was called Deathloop.
Okay.
Dude, it's a first person shooter, and you have this like time machine on your hand. Whatever. I don't even understand. Dude, I couldn't even move. I'm like, well, why can't if I just push forward? Why is it not moving? And I give it to my kid. I give it to Caden, and he goes, "Oh, well, you got to go to this sub menu, and you got to do this, this, and this." And it's like all these screens. I'm like, just to move?
Yeah, that's fun.
Yeah, no, it's so irritating.
I have I have an honorable mention that I want to mention.
All right, we'll get to honorable mentions in a second.
List.
Yeah. So here's my number 2. Because we didn't specify electronic games.
Yeah.
My number 2 is Spoons.
Spoons, great game. So fun.
Right.
Yes, of any physical game that we've ever played, by far the most fun we've ever had playing.
Right.
Games.
So this is why I was struggling with this episode is like, do we have to explain what Spoons is? Because I'm sure it's not a game that everyone knows. Like,
no, but it is online. It is on TikTok and stuff. There are videos of families.
I know. So do yourself a favor. It just instead of us explaining it, which we're going to do a bad, boring job of it, just go on TikTok or YouTube and just type in people playing Spoons.
Yeah,
it's fun to watch. All right, so we can skip that one, or we don't have to go on.
That's your number.
My
2?
number 1. That was my number 2. My number 1.
Yeah,
the greatest game of all time.
Here we go.
What do you think it is? I can only play it at your house.
So, I think you're gonna go one of two directions.
It's gonna be it's the one you know. Don't overthink it.
I know two of them. I know two of them.
I know which two you think it is.
I think it's either.
It's not. I knew you were gonna say that.
Or.
Yep.
Secret of Monkey's Island 2.
Secret of Monkey's Island 2.
So
Wait, you have the Day of the Tentacle. What is that? Is that the actual game box?
It's the game manual. It's not the box. It's the manual for the game.
Who, this is actually a good question. We need to have David back on to figure out, with all the people that we've had in our shows, who deals with hoarders. Like, we need to get you help.
So here's the thing. I mean, I'm not saying you're wrong, but
I'm not wrong. You want to know why I'm not wrong? Because you said you were up till 2 a.m. last night looking for your Tetris game, which you have.
I do.
And which means it's somewhere in your house, and there's so much to go through that you couldn't find it.
Here's the real problem with it. This is why it was a problem. Because last time I got it out, it was not functional. So the screen wasn't working anymore. And I went through and I tried to do a whole bunch of things like with the Tetris cartridge and get it to work properly. And then I was like, no, it's done. It just doesn't work anymore. And then I went, well, I'm not going to throw this away, but it's not playable or usable anymore. So it's going to go into a project bin, so I could dissect, or I don't know what do you call it, with the exploded views of electronics. I know you've seen them. You sent
Yeah,
them to me
yeah,
before.
I like those.
I
Those are
was
cool.
yeah, I love that. I was like, I'm gonna, if it's not usable, I'm gonna do it for that. So I put it into a bin to be able to, for it to be a future project. And that wasn't important to me to remember where it was or where I was going to put it, because it's a future project that'll probably never happen. So that's
I
why
love those exploded views.
I love
Those are
those
cool.
too.
Yeah.
I would buy every single one of those if I had.
I know.
If I had the cash. I love them so much.
Yeah. Sorry,
but here, so this is the crazy part. This is actually from a bin. And maybe I don't know. I was.
You say it like everyone's going to know that you have 1,000 bins in your basement. Like it's crazy the amount of bins you have.
This one came from my parents' house, though, so it was like stored
right. I forgot
there.
You got your hoarding from them.
So it came from their place, and you might even remember this thing. There's this really old art kit box that had like that has been around my entire life, that just was full of computer game things that I'm sure used to be in the computer room when we were growing up, and that was the place that we stored
the
things.
Computer room. You had the computer room.
That's what we call it. We absolutely called it the computer room.
I know.
So as part of those games, this is the thing I think is so fun. I don't know if you remember this, because you weren't into PC games. You played it at our house.
I liked Monkey's Island just because it looked cool, and it was like the guy was so dumb like me.
Guybrush.
Yeah.
So Monkey's Island 2 was really fun, because when it got to the CD-ROM version, and now we're getting a little bit into the technology and maybe like some of that, but when you got into CD-ROM version, it had real music, and it had voices that like went along with the game,
and the music was great.
Yeah, it was really fun, and it is great. It was, but I'm super bummed. It was one of the things that I just had a little while ago. I have a picture of it, and I can just send you that. But for all of those games, they used to have ways, it was like anti-theft, so that you couldn't just give it to your friend and your friend couldn't copy it and you couldn't whatever, that every time you started the game up, they would give you like a puzzle you had to solve. So they'd be like Space Quest is one of the games, like Space Quest with Roger Wilco. They'd be like, on page 6 paragraph 2 word 3, you'd have to go type that in order to be able to unlock the game. So they were not anticipating that most kids would have parents that would be willing to make copies of the manuals, so you could do that kind of stuff. But they also would they just give you like entire charts. Like I have handwritten charts of like, there were like words they would put together, so you'd have to spend the day just like writing out so that like you could play it, because you made a copy of the game from your friend. But I found one item that I don't know if you remember playing this ever at my house. Do you remember the Michael Jordan? I don't know if we can see it.
I can see it.
So this was like the first basketball game that came out that the players actually looked real when they're. I mean, real's relative now.
Is there any
today's graphics?
I do remember that. Yeah.
It's so funny, man. I went to go pull some of this stuff out, and I was like, oh my gosh, I kind of forgot. What?
I bet that's worth some money.
I forgot how complicated it was, that you had to have like your processor had to be a certain speed, and your video card had to have a certain capability for resolution, and your sound card had to be able to play particular things, and your CD-ROM had to spin at a certain speed, like it had to like 8x CD-ROM or faster, and all that kind of stuff. I was like, oh my gosh, it was just kind of this weird trip down memory lane in that thing. It was Electronic Boutique gaming catalog, software catalog. We used to go to Electronic Boutique to get our games.
Wait, those games are $40?
Oh yeah, dude. They're 40, 50, 60 bucks.
Jesus.
For computer games. Nuts, right? Video game catalog. Electronic Boutique. That was one of the places that we used to go
right across the movie theater that I worked at.
Yep, that's right. Sure was. Yeah. So one of my two things, I was questioning, because I think you spent a lot of time on this, and it makes sense with your obsession with football.
Well, that's Super Bowl.
Tecmo Super Bowl. Yeah.
That we never played that one. Like we always played Tecmo Bowl. Super Tecmo Bowl got a little too advanced. They tried
Oh,
to do too much with it. The original Tecmo Bowl certainly should probably be on there. I spent a good deal of time. The problem with it is Bo Jackson was just unfair. Like there's that whole thing on Family Guy has it where they're playing and he's using Bo Jackson just keeps going back and forth. So he's running like 600 yards.
was that was true with Barry Sanders too, though. Barry was
But not like Bo Jackson. Bo Jackson was
no,
like
just
you couldn't.
unstoppable.
Yeah, unstoppable. Yeah, no, unstoppable.
That's hilarious.
So, all right, so let's just because we're running short on time, give us
Oh, yeah.
your honorable mentions. Just
How much time do we have?
list down the 4.
So I spent a lot of time playing Advanced Dungeons and Dragons and Eye of the Beholder. So
is that a game or
this is the manual? This is the manual for Eye of the Beholder 2. But
wait, is that a game or is it like what my son does? Like where
it's a game. It's a game. It's a computer game.
Okay.
So where you loaded up your your characters,
sure,
and ran around and played the whole game, and the armor and the weapons and the what kind of but you had your characters. And you walked around, and it was like 3D, but you moved one space at a time, right? Turn, space, space, space. Right. But man, some of those games they sucked up a lot of time. They were a lot of fun to play. But my one of my big honorable mentions, which goes back to the fact of it's just funny that I've never had the gaming console, right, to be able to play these things. But in college, was a huge obsession, which was Gran Turismo. Yeah. So I have the Gran Turismo game. I didn't even have the console. I bought the game, and I still have my memory card that has my entire garage on it so it's the PlayStation memory card. Oh, my Lord. That's in here, so that if I ever go pull out a PlayStation 1 again, I can throw in Gran Turismo and throw in my card, and I've got my whole garage.
You inspire me, and I mean this in the worst possible way. I throw out so much stuff where Gigi's like, we may use that someday. I was like, I don't like, this is one step becoming Eric. Like if we keep this, we're going to go down a path.
Not to do. It's the cautionary tale.
Like, what are you going to do with a memory card other than bring it up on a podcast?
I think so. I did contemplate this as I went to go pull that out last night.
Not hard enough
to bring it over. The short answer to that is, I think that when you spend so much time on something in your life and you have an emotional attachment to it, that I think it's difficult to just like throw it away.
Fine. I'll give you that if that was your reasoning for having all the stuff that you have.
Well, I'm not gonna deny. As I was going through bins last night, I went, there is a lot of stuff here that's got to go. That just has to go away. And it's all time.
We should do a whole episode in your basement of just going through things and just I give it a thumbs up, thumbs down. You can defend. We'll set up rules where like you can keep 5 things where it's unquestionable, and then I get to get rid of 5 things unquestionable.
There are things nowadays though that I don't know. As it was like this pendulum shift between there's a lot of stuff here that's got to go to, oh man, I'm so glad. I would have never remembered this in my entire life had I not come across it right now. And some of that
Leisure Suit Larry.
Exactly. So and some of that stuff. All right. So just to like close out the list. So Secret of Monkey's Island 2, that was on my top for the PC games, right? Dungeons and Dragons, like Pool of Radiance, like those games, love playing them. Eye of the Beholder, Day of the Tentacle, Prince of Persia.
Beholder, yeah.
Prince of Persia
was
a game I played a lot.
Yes.
I remember playing.
The graphics were cool.
They were groundbreaking at the time, but it was loaded off of a diskette, so it was garbage in the grand scheme.
Sure.
But even like the fluid movement of the character was like new.
And
like, that was something.
And stuff,
you never saw it, and physical recovery. It was very human like. So it was groundbreaking in that sense. Sim City is a game I loved playing a lot. I loved building and whatnot. Okay, so we didn't touch on the whole 3D first person shooter thing. Wolfenstein 3D.
Right.
Doom 3D. So Doom
Yeah.
3D was the first game that we could play online against each
Of
other,
course,
against
right.
other people.
So this goes back to like the Mount Rushmore. If you said Doom up on the Mount Rushmore, I
Hmm.
don't think people. I mean, sure, everyone could debate Michael Jordan, Larry, LeBron James, but I don't think people like you have a good stance for that to be on the Mount
Sure.
Rushmore,
Yeah.
especially with what it did to the gaming industry
For
and where
sure.
we are now.
Yeah, it
Right.
changed
So,
everything.
right,
Yeah, that led into like Duke Nukem. That was super
right,
fun, and then
right,
the Unreal Tournament stuff. Unreal Tournament
correct.
was we've mentioned on the podcast
Yeah,
before. We wired up our whole apartment between
yeah,
you, me, and Brandon so we could play
yeah,
against each other, and
yeah.
we'd stay up all night playing that stupid game.
Just to remind everyone, we were single for a long time. We're in the
um,
middle of Miami,
right up
right at
until
the age where you should be going out and meeting people. Like we were in our mid-20s. We were actually thin and decent enough looking. Like we should have been out meeting people, but us three idiots were in the apartment playing Unreal for
yeah,
not an hour at a time.
nope.
All right. So is that
Uh,
what? So is that
no,
your honorable mentions?
no,
What
yeah, no.
else?
What?
Jesus.
So these I know exactly. These are so all the Space Quest series games that I showed you.
Right.
The one,
Yeah.
pull up the one. Those were super fun. Now, one game that was really important, and they actually made a poster for it, and I have a poster of it, and I gave
I
one
would imagine
to Trombley. Is Indiana Jones: Fate of Atlantis. So
that was a groundbreaking game too at the time.
it was
Was
super
that the first one
fun.
that had video?
No, but it was at the time I was like, look at that, it looks like it's real. And if you look at it now, you're like, oh my god, that's not even close to real. But like graphics getting good like made like this such a leap. Like it was so like interesting to go through that era of like little block characters over to something that actually looked like a real hand, right? Like it
Yeah.
was
Yeah.
holding a
Yeah.
thing or something
Yeah.
along those lines. But that one didn't have real video.
But
And
there was
then
one that had real video that like cut to like this little box. Do you remember
yeah,
that?
there were, yes, there yep. That those were CD-ROMs. So that was when
Right.
CD-ROM first started coming out.
Right.
Um, one I thought you may mention on the PC side was Full Throttle. Full Throttle was the
It was like
animation.
Monkey's Island. Yeah. I
Yeah,
mean,
kind of. Yeah, it was more animated, but it was
right. But it
similar
was
to
in the
Monkey's
vein
Island.
of that, and it had comedy and all the
Yeah.
things that I liked back then,
Okay,
cartoony
so
looking.
a couple more. Contra was always Contra
Of
is
course, up,
epic
down,
and
left, right,
yeah,
left, right,
exactly. Up,
PA
down,
select
left, right, left,
start.
right. It's yeah, exactly. Contra's epic. Love playing that. I question if you were gonna bring up NBA Jam. We had so much fun
I
playing
didn't know.
NBA
I
Jam.
didn't play that much. You and Jeff played.
We
I
did
didn't play
play.
it that much.
Really?
Yeah.
That's
Actually, I
interesting.
find that game annoying. I mean, I like the graphics and everything like that, but like you're jumping 30 stories and dunking.
Oh,
It's like
so
it was
fun.
so far from basketball that
Oh wow,
yeah,
elitist. Um,
yeah, I'm an elitist.
yeah, that's so. That's it. I'll round it out with that.
All right, I'll go quickly since we only have about 4 minutes. So honorable mention, foosball.
My gosh,
Brandon and I used to
dude.
have many a challenge on foosball.
Foosball is a great. I have to show you this. I took a picture of this to send it to you, and I didn't send it. This is you're gonna go. Well, I gotta find it. Go ahead.
All
With
right,
your
while you're
list. I'm gonna
looking,
pull it up. Yeah.
while you're looking, SSX, that
Tricky.
snowboarding game.
Yes,
SSX
I
Tricky,
I put that on my list. I just didn't mention it right now.
yeah.
I have fond memories of
In our at Dale's place.
with Jaime screaming
Yeah,
combo.
yeah. Dale West. Yeah, we were renting out his place. It was whatever. Metal Gear, the original one, the NES one,
Oh goodness.
and
Yeah, I thought you
then
were gonna say Ninja Gaiden.
so I had that on my list, but not as an honorable mention because it's certainly not more impactful for my life than poker. Just
Oh
Texas
goodness.
Hold'em poker.
Yeah, that's fun and addicting.
All right, give me your because we don't have a ton of time. Give me your top four
All right.
Mount Rushmore games.
So wait, go look at the picture I just sent you that we can
Okay.
pull up on because you just mentioned foosball. So this was where at
Oh
the show I
Jesus.
was as just at, and it's I was like, this is so fun. It's a team,
Sure.
so it's
Yeah.
meant
Yeah.
it's meant for team
And the thing
building.
is, like the skill set of foosball. I was
Yeah,
actually, I think we were at University of Michigan, and when I saw that people were actually like taking it serious, like
yeah,
passing, like
yeah.
legit passing,
Throwing it up over
throwing up,
over
yeah.
top.
And so
Yeah.
then I started to take it serious because I'm competitive. So, all right, so go Mount Rushmore.
Yeah. So my Mount Rushmore is
I,
my top four: baseball stars,
that's
Tetris, Mortal Kombat. I don't know what you show on the mountain, a little Tetris piece,
yeah,
and
the one that looks like that.
and
Hold on, let me
Uncharted,
pull my list. All right, so
Mortal Kombat and
here's
Uncharted.
okay, but let me give you the real list.
Okay, here it is.
Um,
Here we go.
Fight me on any one of these.
Okay,
Doom,
garbage.
Mario Brothers, Super
Nope,
Mario Brothers,
nada.
Sonic the Hedgehog, Grand Theft Auto.
I thought about Grand Theft Auto. Sonic. I rarely played Sonic,
I know, but it's a
so
cultural thing. It's
yeah,
like
my kid's
everyone,
super into it right now.
exactly. It transcends generations.
Yeah.
And the only reason I left Pac-Man off because my kids, though they know Pac-Man, that's not a go-to for them.
Mario for sure. NES and Super Mario games were just
Yeah, like if you said Angry Birds, I'd be like, sure, that probably belongs up there. It was the first handheld phone game. I guess all phones now are
well
handheld,
that
but
that
like it was
went
the first
that went
that went
viral,
like
I guess.
uber viral.
Yeah, yeah. Um, what was
Which,
your
by the
first
way,
one?
not a bad movie.
No, those are fun movies. What
Yeah,
was the first one?
Doom.
Doom, Doom 3D.
Yeah,
Yeah. Um, yeah. I can't argue though any of those.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
So it's the right list. All right, is that it?
Yeah, well, aren't you going to try to appeal to people that are still listening and say, "Well, you put in the comments, what are your favorite games?" We'd love to hear what your favorite games are. That's what you do every single time. You try to get people to comment and join in the fun.
I'm done.
Um,
I'm done pleading to our audience.
I don't know. It was a fun trip down memory lane for me.
Sure. Yeah.
Just thinking about the amount of time spent playing
It
some
is
of these
funny
games.
because I think people, they have their, like, obviously, like for us, like Uncharted, we played it and stuff. But when you start to analyze what is it really on my list, you know, like Roger Wilco or Full Throttle, I didn't even
Yeah,
remember those.
yeah, yeah,
So like it's fun to think like, all right, let's go past our list and really analyze if it should be there.
yeah. I agree. I that was the whole thing, right? I went back, revisited. I remember being obsessed with computer games and playing them and loving them so much, on so many different levels. But then when it came down to it, and I started looking at them all, I was like, yeah, but am I gonna put Monkey's Island above Tetris? No. Above Baseball Stars? No. Am I gonna put it above So and then over Mortal Kombat, like I didn't play it more than Mortal Kombat. Mortal Kombat you can just pick up at any time and just play, right? There's
Yeah,
like Monkey's Island is a whole
it's a
whole
whole
adventure
ordeal.
series you got to go through. But anyway, so it was fun to go through, and it would be interesting to hear about some of the, like the things that we're forgetting. I know, like
Yeah,
I guarantee you, there's some people that listen
yeah.
to this that we know
Yell
that
at
are going to
them.
be like, "What are you talking about? How could you not say this?" It's
Right.
totally going to happen.
Scream at them to comment. Just flat out scream. It helps us out when you guys comment. It does. It boosts engagement.
It does. It does help.
Yeah.
Feels like game over. We done?